Good afternoon, everybody. Justin Scott here with the Lowell Ledger, and I am here with some competitive cheerleaders and their coach from this past season. They had a great season. Coach, why don't you introduce everyone?
Yeah, so I'm Coach Crum, and with me here I have two of my captains. I have Maya and Hope, and they are both seniors. They are both four-year varsity athletes from the sideline team and the competitive team. And just a little bit about each. So Maya has been in all three rounds every year for competitive, can base and fly. First ever round two tuck team a couple of years ago. Each year she's been academic all-state. Last season she was all-conference academic all-state and second team all-district, and then this year MVP all-conference all-district honorable mention and academic all-state, and captain the past 2 years. Hope, she has also been in all three rounds every year, can base and fly, first ever round two tuck team as well. In 22-23 all-conference honorable mention. Last season was the MVP all-district honorable mention, and this year the Arrows Award all-conference second team all-district, and will be continuing her cheer career at Kansas Wesleyan University. These girls I've known since they were in youth, and they are some of my top tumblers, and they both came into high school as bases, and they both turned into flyers that also base whenever I need them to. So
Awesome. Hope, why don't you start? Tell me how you got into cheerleading when you were young.
Yeah, so I was a gymnast from the age of like 5 until probably like 8 or 9, and then I had an injury, so I quit gymnastics. And then about a year and a half, 2 years-ish later, my sister's friends she was in high school at the time, and her friends convinced her to try out for cheer. And so my mom kind of just came to me and was like, hey, do you want me to sign you up for the youth sideline cheer program? And I was like, I guess. So that's kind of just how I got into cheer, and I kind of just fell in love with it.
And your sister cheered too, right?
Yes.
Okay. Maya, what about you?
So my mom is the assistant varsity coach, and she actually started the youth program.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, I cheered at Greenville when I was young, and that was like my first ever year doing cheer, and she created the youth program, and I started from there. Been there since day one.
I'll go over to Coach. Coach, can you tell me what it's like to coach in a conference with, very good teams like Cedar Springs, for example? How does that help your program?
yeah, so I'm no stranger to Cedar Springs. They were in the OK White with us my first few years coaching here. And then when they got moved out, we ended up getting like Byron Center in, who's also a strong team. Now they're D1, but switching into the conference again, being back with Cedar Springs, it's definitely good to be against teams that are strong like Cedar Springs and teams that do have a record of going to state. They went to state this year. I don't think they went last year, but they've been there quite a few times. So it's nice to be able to go against them, and because then we actually can see how we do compare to teams like that. At our first competition this year, we did see them, and at that first competition, we did score higher than them. So it's kind of been like a up and down, back and forth type battle with them this year, and they came out stronger in round two, and that I feel like that's what really helped them have the advantage on us.
Okay. Hope, can you tell me about the 700 club? Like the 700 is like the mark that you want to get in competitive cheer. That's kind of where the program's like, we want to hit that every time. What kind of goes into that? Can you tell me a little bit about the rounds, the scoring?
Yeah, so each round, so there's 3 rounds. Each round is kind of focuses on a different aspect of cheer. Round 1 is more formation changes, jumps, just things like that. Round 2 is the unison round, so we have specific like standing tumbling and specific jumps that we're all supposed to be completely in sync. And then round 3 is focuses on stunting and running tumbling. And so each thing that you do in each round gets you points. And then you start off with a certain number of points, and each thing the judges see wrong, they'll like deduct points from it. So you want to be scoring round 1 usually kind of at least 220s is where you want to be. Round 2, you want to be hitting like the 200, and then round 3, just like as high as you possibly can, like as close to 300 if you can get up that far. But when you like get a combined total of 700, that's just like a really big mark. And Lowell, we didn't hit that until Maya and I's sophomore year when we put tucks in there, and that was the first time that Lowell cheer has ever done that. So that was just a really big milestone for us. And then just kind of getting back there this year, just last year it took us almost the whole season to get into the 700 club. So then when we kind of got there, like we were only like 2 points off at our first competition. And so just hitting that mark was kind of just the whole season. We're like just aiming for higher and aiming for more and more. And it was like the whole team just wanted that 700, and you could just feel it. And it just kept pushing each one of us to do better and better each competition.
And so Maya, districts, you guys end the season with a 704. You don't advance out of districts, but I mean, you can't really do much better than that. It was a school record that was the best in program history. What was it like going out really on top like that?
It did feel really good to end like that, like being a senior. It kind of feels like to me that like I beat all the scores, like I hit everything, like maybe not round 1, but all the other rounds, like I beat those scores, like I put in all the work that I could have, and I actually didn't even realize that we beat the final score because I couldn't remember what it was, and I was looking at everyone and I was like, oh my god, did we hit it? Did we do it? And then everyone was looking at me, and then everyone was just so happy. We, like, the tears, most of them were happy. Of course, they were sad because we were all done, but it did feel, like, really good to be able to hit that and to just keep breaking records.
So did most of you know in that moment, or did you not really know the significance of that score at that time?
It might have been just me because I couldn't remember our highest score, but I think most of everyone kind of knew, and they were all pretty happy.
Hope, did you know?
I did.
Okay.
I tend to have a good memory when it comes to cheer and like our scores, and so when I kind of just hear things, I'm like, wait, we have never scored that high before. So
Coach, I'll go over to you. So you're a Red Arrow cheer alum. What's it like leading a program that you were a part of at once?
It's kind of crazy because, like, looking back, I'm like, man, we were so good then, and now I'm like, we were good, but I would say now, like, especially the tumbling is so much stronger, and the skills we're able to do cleanly, really strong, especially stunt-wise. Back in my day, we were really strong with stunts. But a lot of the stunts, I mean, we could hold them up there all day, but they were not as solid, and the flyers were not as, like, just strong up there, or at least, like, with my groups that I remember. But, yeah, these girls now are super disciplined, and we work really hard on these stunts, and a lot of the stunts have gotten safer from when I was in school. Like, we can't do double twists anymore, and there are certain baskets we're no longer allowed to do, but some of the stunts that they're allowing for the teams now and the future teams that have been coming out with the rule book changes are pretty scary stunts, and some of them, I know that, like, especially the team this year, if we were to try some of those new stunts that are just coming out, we would be hitting them. So,
tell me about the relationship between gymnastics, competitive cheer, and now there's dance here at Lowell. And I know they're different, but it's, just different options for girls in the winter. Are you guys getting a lot of young gymnasts? Because, I mean, Hope mentioned she was doing gymnastics. We've got a very good gymnastics program. They're back at Team States on Friday, so it's exciting for them. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I kind of go in where I'm going to take the athletes that want to be there. I mean, I know of gymnasts here that maybe they didn't do the gymnastics team or they were on the fence about competitive, and I'm really all about letting them decide. Like, I would never want to pull from the gymnastics program, and I know that the gymnastics program doesn't pull from us, and it's ultimately the athlete's choice. Like, I don't feel I need to convince an athlete to stay in the program or to come to the program, but I'll give them information if they want it. But it's up to them to make that decision. And with the dance team here, I mean, that's a whole different ballgame. We have band dances when it comes to sideline, but they're doing a completely different style of dance. The style of dance we would do during sideline is more considered pom, but it's like cheer pom, because pom and dance, they do turns and leaps, and we don't do any of those. I would also say the type of tumbling is different. How we begin and end our skills is very different. I would say we are definitely more robotic looking, where they can be a little more flowy when it comes to gymnastics. There's more of like a elegance to it when they're doing floor routines, and with us it's like you stick, you hold, you don't move. Like, it's very start and stop. So
I am curious, how, like, so we got some all-conference, athletes here. How are athletes judged in a sport that is really about, like, team unison?
It is very subjective. We have one of the most subjective sports. Sometimes I think it's subconscious of judges just knowing, like, when they see certain teams and they know those teams have been to states before, maybe they score them higher, or if it's a smaller team, maybe they are a little more lenient with the scores because maybe they're like, oh, well, they're working with what they have. But, I mean, there's teams like Allendale who are super clean in their round 3, and they're only putting 4 or 5 girls on the mat. Like, that's super impressive. But when it comes to scoring the team, that's where it gets really difficult, because if you put one girl on the wrong side who stands out just because they may have longer arms than the girl on the other side who's supposed to mirror them, that can hurt your general impression. If you have a girl in the middle who has beautiful jumps but maybe doesn't do all the same faces as the girl next to her, that can hurt your general impression. It's kind of crazy, all the different little things that go into it. And it's hard, too, because you want, like the 2 athletes I have with me today, you want the other athletes in round 2. You want their jumps, their springs to look like these 2 athletes. But can everyone do that? Does everyone have that athletic ability? Does everyone have that capability? Not always. We did a really good job getting our jump scores a lot higher than I think they've ever been. We worked really hard on jumps this year, so that definitely improved. But yeah, scoring as a team unit, it is so difficult. Whereas, like, if you compare to gymnastics, they're watching one athlete, so it's really up to just that athlete to do the skills that they're supposed to do. But when we're as a team, like, if that one big mistake happens that can cause a penalty, that can cost you. So,
Hope, tell me about competitive cheer as it comes to, like, the camaraderie, because it's one of those sports where it seems like you guys are always on the mat, not only cheering each other on, but cheering on other teams. Do you know a lot of these girls? What's that like?
Yeah, so we don't really know a lot of the other girls like on a personal standard, but we see these other girls cheering all the time. We'll see girls, we're like, oh my gosh, she's the really good one. Like, she's really good at tumbling. This girl's really, like, muscular. Like, you get to know people on different teams, but we really just try and be very sportsmanlike, because cheer is a very mental sport. There's a lot of mental blocks. There's a lot of things that go into it, not just physically, but mentally. And so, at least from kind of where my perspective, I've seen the past 4 years is every team just tries to cheer on other teams the best they can. And you see stuff that you're just impressed with and you just can't help but cheer, because there are teams that are like that do things that you've never seen before and you're like, that is so cool. And I think for a lot of people it's not necessarily we want the other teams to fail, we just want ourselves to do better. So it's not necessarily like we don't want to win because other teams do bad, we want to win because we're pushing ourselves to our full potential.
I get that a little. Like when I was golfing here at Lowell, I mean, I'm playing against an opponent. I don't want him to like screw up a lot, but I'm also playing against him. I want to beat him. So I kind of get what you're saying with that. And then Maya, on your end, when it comes from the transition to fall sideline cheer to competitive cheer, what's that like? Because I know it is a lot of the same girls, right? A lot of the same coaches. But obviously very different. So can you walk me
Yeah.
through that?
So it is a lot. Competitive definitely feels a lot more intense than sideline. Personally, I do like sideline a lot more than competitive, just because it feels like lighter. Like practice is always maybe a little bit more fun, just because there's time for that, and you get to do. It's more than just cheering on sports like we do. Like volunteering, and there's Pink Arrow, and there's more. It's like more supporting your community, and like I coach youth during sideline, and I liked that a lot more, and it was more. I felt more in my element during sideline, but when you go to competitive, it's a lot more intense. Everyone is very focused, and everyone like there's. I don't even know how to like word it, because it's so everyone is just focused on getting like where you need to be, hitting the rounds, getting the scores that you need, and it's just so different.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot more flexibility in sideline as well. Just because competitive, you have those 3 rounds, and a lot of the time they stay the same or close to the same the whole season. And then in sideline, you get to experiment with stun sim, pyramids, and
Yeah.
change chants and dances, and you do a ton more stuff in sideline.
Yeah.
I will say that, yeah.
And even if you were to mess up in sideline, like it really doesn't matter. Like
Right.
if you fall on the track, you get back up and everyone forgets about it in a hot second because they're watching the football game. But that would never happen in competitive. Like, so it just really feels like it's on you for competitive, not so much in sideline. Yeah.
Oh, what do you think? Sideline or competitive? What do you like more?
I'm kind of the opposite of Maya. I really do like competitive. I kind of treat sideline as just me kind of staying in shape for competitive and just working on my tumbling, always trying to advance that, because tumbling is definitely my strongest area in cheer. But I would consider myself a pretty competitive person, but I feel like competitive is where I can push myself more. And so, like, I like that intense, like, I'm always trying to push myself. It helps to keep me more disciplined. In my athletic career, like, it didn't always, my first couple years of high school, like my freshman and sophomore year, I really liked sideline because it was lighter, but then I kind of started getting more into weightlifting, and then I kind of just changed. So I like that intense feeling now, and I love just the feeling of adrenaline when you first get on the mat, like at a competition. It doesn't matter what round, like each round, round 3 is always the most nerve-wracking, and you're always the most scared for round 3, but every single round, as soon as like you step foot on that mat, just the amount of adrenaline and every different emotion going through your head, that is just like one of the best feelings for me, just stepping on that mat.
And some of those crowds are pretty like wild, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I've ever been at an indoor sporting event where a crowd is as loud as competitive cheer. What's the crowd participation like? Like, how does that work? And maybe Coach, you can pitch in here.
Yeah, with crowd participation, we have an incredible parent crowd. They actually went out and bought sparkly jackets. One year, so Hope's mom is super creative, and so she made signs one year, and each parent held signs, and they brought like little pom-poms in, and because you're not really supposed to be doing noisemakers, but the louder that our parents yell and cheer us on, the louder the girls will be on the mat. And you can see it with other teams, like if they don't have a ton of parents in the crowd or friends out there cheering them on, you can tell they're a little more nervous. There's less confidence. And we actually are being judged on if we look confident, which that can look different to every person. So that is another reason why like cheer is very subjective. But crowd participation is huge. At districts, I actually told the parents not to be as loud in round 3 because we were the last team to go. So we knew every team at districts would be in the gym cheering too. And I think it helped. We put out a really solid round 3 at districts, and I think it helped because they could still hear each other.
So crowd participation isn't part of the scoring, but it is in the fact that it affects the cheerleaders.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So Maya was mentioning some of the community outreach and volunteering that you guys have done, like sidelines, stuff like that. Can you go through those things?
Yeah. So we have our youth camp in June, which is usually pretty big. Usually I think the biggest camp we had was around like 120 or something, 130 maybe. Yeah, it was a huge camp, and that's K through 8th. So we actually broke it into 2 sections. So we have K through 2nd at the beginning, and then 3rd through 8th at the end. And a lot of the varsity and JV girls will go on and coach certain youth teams throughout the whole season. So that's a big part of their volunteering experience. We also usually help out with Pink Arrow Community Day. They've kind of changed up how that day works now, so we didn't help out this past year. But then we have Pink Arrow, where we go around to all the elementary schools and the middle school, and we go to all the retirement homes, and we do like mini performances and talk about what Pink Arrow means to us. And it's a lot of being seen in the community. And really, just any time an organization reaches out to us and is like, hey, we'd love to have cheerleaders here, we get cheerleaders there. We had an event a couple of years ago. Do you guys remember what I'm talking about? It was in the summer.
I think it was last year.
Was that last year?
I don't remember what building it was, but it was like towards like downtown Lowell, kind of that area.
Yeah, there was like a new building like opening up or reopening or something, and so some of the team that was able to make it, because since it was during the summer, it wasn't mandatory, but I think majority of the team was there. There were only a couple girls that couldn't be there because they had to work, but the girls love to be out in the community and volunteering and love to be seen, and that really helps build our program, because then these youth girls see them out there, and even those girls out there that aren't involved in cheer, they may see one of the varsity athletes out in the community and decide they want to do that. And that's a lot of how we get some of our younger athletes.
And who comes up with the slogans each year? Because I know you guys usually have a slogan. It was Red is Back this year, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so Maya actually
nice. Okay.
came up with Red is Back. We usually pass it on to the incoming seniors, and I think last spring, I think Maya was like, I think we should do Red is Back.
Yeah, I mentioned that to you a while ago, and you told me not to tell anyone.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. We'll have to go through, and then we kind of talked with the rest of the seniors, and we were like, all right, Red is Back. That's what we're going with. And I think that was a really good one to do, because the year before it wasn't a rebuilding year necessarily, but it kind of felt like one, because we lost 10 senior. Well, we didn't lose them; they graduated. But 10 seniors who were a very big part of our program that were on the team that had Tux in round 2, and out of that team, 5 of the girls on the mat were seniors that graduated out. The other 5 were sophomores. And I mean, 2 of them are sitting right here that were on that team. And I told the team that year, I remember telling them, we are going to have Tux in round 2, and we're going to have it by this competition. And they looked at me like I was crazy. And we did. We put them in. I was like, they might not be perfect yet, but we'll put them in. And we did and set a record. And
Mind
so
you,
it was really cool.
3 or 4 of those tucks were thrown in warm-ups the day of the competition.
Mine was.
Yeah, they had all thrown them at practice on the mat by themselves. Were they consistent? No. Did I have faith in them that they would go out there and perform the best they could? Yeah. Yeah. Usually I only put things out if I know it's going to work and I know it's going to land, but I knew when these girls got adrenaline for this, I knew they were going to do it. So,
Maya, what was this group of seniors like? You had 5 seniors this year.
It was, well, it felt kind of weird because honestly, like, before, like, in sideline, there were a lot more seniors, and then, like, some people, like, competitive just isn't for everyone, and, like, that's totally fine. But it kind of, like, simmered down, and there were just 5 left, and I didn't even realize it, but there were only, 3 of us left that were 4-year varsity, and that's kind of crazy to think about. But then some of the seniors, like, it kind of feels like they've been here for, like, a really long time. Like, I feel like Kaylin's been doing cheer for more than that, and Josie too. And I feel like we're kind of close. Like, we're not all best friends. We all don't, like, hang out all the time at school. But when it comes to cheer, I feel like we kind of put, like, whatever is going on outside, and we're all pretty, like, civil with each other. Like, we're all pretty good friends. Like, we'll talk and whatever. And I think we're a pretty good group.
Hope, are you the last of the Worsley children?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, because I went to school with Christian, so
Yeah.
and every time I've done like photography here, I keep like, oh, there's another Worsley that's popped up. So I think there's 5 of you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think about the seniors this year?
I think pretty similar to what Maya said. It feels like Bree, Maya, and I have been doing this for a while, but it feels like Josie and Kaylin have been with us kind of throughout this whole thing. Like, I know they haven't, but it feels like it. And, like, even just kind of the connection that we all have, we're like, it feels like more. Like, we've been doing this for such a long time. And, yeah, like, we're not all, like, best friends. We don't hang out all the time, but, yeah, we all, like, as soon as we got on the mat, it's not like a friendship connection, but it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but we just all know that we can trust one another to do what needs to be done and, like, just get stuff done. And
you have to have that. There's a lot of trust in this sport. You're, being caught by, other people. Like,
Yeah.
Coach, only 5 seniors this year. You mentioned there were 10 a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
Who do you expect to step up next year?
Well, we have a lot of underclassmen. And we did have a JV team this year for the first time since the 2019-2020 season. So that was nice to have that back. I decided a JV would be better so we could get some of those underclassmen experience on the mat. But we had 5 freshmen on the team this year as well, and 4 of them were varsity sideline. And, I mean, that's like a core group. Those 4 out of the 5 have been stunting together, I don't know, since they were in like 3rd grade maybe. They've just been together. And that stunt group was hitting elite stunts at the summer camp we went to right away. So that was really good to see that. So we know we have that strong stunting. I'm graduating out 4 flyers, which in competitive you can only put 4 stunt groups on the mat. So 4 flyers are gone, and then I have a Bree, who is our one of our other 4-year varsity athletes, she can base and back spot, and she can base either side, which not every athlete can do. I know that there's one side I'm stronger on, but I can hop in on the other side if needed, but I try not to. If I have to hop under a group, I try not to side base with them. But yeah, it's going to be hard to lose these 5, but we have a really strong junior class that a lot of that junior class, they will be 4-year varsity athletes next year, and our sophomores they're a really strong group as well. So it's hard because I would have to sit here and name every single one of them because they're that strong of athletes. And like looking at some of the scores that these girls broke, knowing that it was a big underclassmen team, like that makes me feel good, even though I'm graduating out like such strong athletes as well. We know that we also have good talent coming up. And we have some girls on JV that got some experience on the mat and got a lot stronger. So that will also help us out next year.
Hope, you are going to school for cheer, right? Where are you going?
I'm going to Indiana Wesleyan University.
All right.
Did I say Kansas Wesleyan?
Yeah.
Yes.
I totally did.
I just wanted to double check. I was
Yeah,
like,
no,
maybe-
Indiana.
Okay. So I went through an article with you, so I know a little bit about. For those of you who are listening who haven't read the article, tell me, why Indiana Wesleyan, and just a brief synopsis of that.
Yeah, so I didn't know where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do for a long time. I mean, the past couple years, I've kind of figured out that I did want to continue cheer in college. But one of my top places that I was looking at was Alma. They have an amazing cheer program, but I hadn't really looked at the school. And so this past year, we were just kind of doing visits, and there's a lot of people from the church I go to that have gone to Indiana Wesleyan. And so we kind of just planned a visit, and I wasn't really expecting much, but there was a visit where you go and do the college visit on Friday, and then like Friday night you practice with the team, and then Saturday you go and you can be like with the cheerleaders down on the field the next day at the football game. And so I was kind of just like, I guess we'll try this out. So I went, and we ended up getting there a little late, so it was kind of like just me and my parents and then one other person who went on like the same tour as I did. But I just fell in love with the campus completely. Like every single aspect of this campus just felt like home. And so I don't want to say I knew then, but it just felt like home. And so that night I went to the cheer practice, and there was only like 5 girls who went and like did this visit, and so we got a lot of hands-on stuff. And when you go to college clinics, you don't always get a lot done because there's so many girls that usually go, and so they're trying to work with everybody at different levels. But since there's only 5 girls, all of us that were there were doing like these college level stunts, and I was just doing things that I never thought that I would be doing. And so I kind of just went to that practice, and I fell in love with the team environment too. Like their team, like I don't want to bash on cheer or anything, but cheer can be a very toxic environment. I think like just cheer, dance, and gymnastics all can be like pretty toxic environments, but
Super hyper competitive.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
and like I think it's the fact like in cheer we have to trust each other. And so if you don't necessarily have that trust, you kind of have to like force that trust because you are trusting other girls essentially with your life. And so it's just like a lot of that environment. And so going down there and just seeing how their team works with each other and just seeing how well their program runs, I loved it. And then the next day we went for a Q&A before the football game, and their coach pulled me aside after the Q&A and offered me a scholarship, told me to wait and pray on it for a little bit. So I didn't make my decision right away. I came back home and waited a couple weeks, but pretty soon I just knew that that was my place. And
Fantastic. Maya, what's the future like for you? What are you thinking?
I plan to attend Grand Valley.
Okay.
I want to be a elementary school teacher.
It's awesome.
I kind of found I found out that that's what I wanted to do through cheer, and that's why I liked sideline so much more, because I loved coaching. I coached kindergarten, first grade. That's what I coached, and that's what I want to teach. I love all of them so much.
That's awesome.
And as much as I love cheer, I don't have too many plans to keep continuing cheer. If Grand Valley happens to get a stunt team, I might join it, but as of right now, I'm totally fine with like going to open gyms and continuing like tumbling and like on my own time, but as of participating in cheer on campus, not right now.
Awesome. All right, well, guys, anything else?
Unless you got something.
Yeah, I don't know why I said Kansas Wesleyan. I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, I don't even know where that came from. But, yeah, I remember when Hope was making her decision, and she was trying to decide if she wanted to go further away and do cheer, and it's one of those decisions. They don't have adult cheer teams. Like, there's no rec league for adult cheer. Like, you can go tumble at open gyms, but it's not the same. So I'm very happy and excited that she's continuing her cheer career. I know I'll just see Maya around. I mean, I think she'll be back and helping with youth, and she's not that far away, and you're rooming with Kaylin? Yeah. So she'll be rooming with one of the other athletes as well at Grand Valley. So I know that if that stunt team does happen, I know that they'll need some people to help them get back with their tumbling and anything that they may need to clean back up before those tryouts. And I mean, I'm always here, but I also I know their cheer career might be ending if they don't continue on, if that stunt team doesn't happen, or if they choose not to, and that is totally fine. I mean, Maya's mom is the assistant coach. Her younger sister is a freshman on the team that's part of that powerhouse group. So cheer is always going to be in her life, whether she realizes it or not. And being a teacher it works out great with like practice times. So just saying, that's also why I chose to go back to school and become a teacher, is because it worked out with coaching, and that was my main passion and what I wanted to keep doing. But I'm very grateful to have these two athletes, and I'm happy that I've had them as long as I've been able to have them. And it's crazy because their graduating class, like this group of cheerleaders from my sideline cheerleaders, the 10 of them, and then the 5 from competitive, I remember saying to myself, well, I got to keep coaching so I can coach them. I got to keep coaching so I get all of them. And now I keep seeing those younger grades on those youth teams, and I'm like, man, I got to keep coaching until I get these girls that are in 3rd grade right now or in 5th grade right now. And I just think I'll be here a while, and I think these seniors definitely set the bar high, and I'm excited to see what my teams continue to do. But 30 out of 40 top 10 competitive cheer scores of all time, and each round, like, these two have been a part of those teams, so pretty cool.
Trajectory's only going up.
Yep.
So. All right. Well, thank you all for coming on. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.